Hey everyone and welcome. It is Thursday, December 17th, 2015. I am Yolanda Vega with tonight's New York Lottery numbers and win
No.
for observed by an order from KBD.
No.
Now it is time for your daily numbers. The first bowl up.
No.
What?
No.
What?
You are Angry Larry, and if you give people lotto numbers, someone will probably try to sue us from the Lotto Commission. So you're Angry Larry.
But it's
I'm
audited
the
by.
Duke. You're Angry Larry.
I'm angry.
I'm the Duke.
All right. I'm Angry Larry. He is the Duke. And welcome to the New York Lottery NXT Takeover event. That was live yesterday, Wednesday, on the WWE Network. And Duke, I'm not too sure if you watched it live. I definitely did. I was available at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and I loved it. It was a great time for wrestling for some reason. Instead of being on at like 8 o'clock at night and then, going to like 10 o'clock at night, for some reason, it was just like refreshing to have that event that was live at 3 p.m. if you could watch it live. And then just like it's over and it's just like, okay, it's time for dinner. And then I could do other stuff at night. That is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there is that benefit on our end, as opposed to the opposite side of it, where when we have it at prime time for us and all the rabid London fans or people over there, European fans, are watching, and it's 3 a.m. when it finishes.
Yeah. I listen, and it goes along with the crowd was fantastic, and they did not overshadow the wrestling, but they greatly enhanced the wrestling experience, and it's something we're going to talk about on the weekly show to come when we discuss the differences between different types of crowds and NXT and WWE as a whole. But man, I just thought it was just a phenomenal presentation of a wrestling performance program backed up by phenomenal performances by pretty much everyone on the card. But
yep,
yeah,
I agree.
So let's get into it. So the first match on the card was Asuka versus Emma with Dana Brooke in her corner. And to me, I mean, like, this match was just phenomenal to begin with. Because they really let Emma be a major contender here. I mean, they've had Asuka crush pretty much everyone so far, but they let Emma do a lot in this match, and she looked pretty strong for it. Not to, go back on that making her look strong type of meme or anything, but
right.
She took everything Asuka had. She gave Asuka everything she had, and, the ending with the false finishes with Dana Brooke's belt or whatever that was, and the referee catching Asuka, after waking up from the ref bump spot, and then a second false finish when Dana Brooke got on the ropes. I mean, it was a phenomenal match, and I tweeted this out. I think this match right here has been better than any Divas match on the main roster for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that sentiment. And to me, okay, so this goes back to the crowd really enhancing the match. They really, and I've read a lot about, just how over certain people were and how the crowd is just like, we're into this match, and how the crowd treated different matches differently. And there was only really one match that kind of fell flat with the crowd. But we'll get to that in a second. But the crowd was a big difference maker in this because they just bought in, which is a big part of this pay-per-view. They bought into everything that was going on. And one of the biggest things, and this is a big difference between NXT and the main roster, or NXT and almost anything else you see on TV for wrestling. So typically, Larry, let me throw this out there. When you have a ref bump, ref is knocked out. He wakes up and the face is holding a foreign object. What typically happens in that match?
They normally throw it to a disqualification, I would say.
They normally DQ it. But what happens in NXT? What happened in this match?
Well, they use their better judgment and say, okay, I see you holding a weapon, but I didn't see you use the weapon. So a lot of lecturing about the weapon, and let's let the match continue.
They let the face be a face? Is that what you're telling me? They don't all of a sudden think, oh, this person that's always been a baby face is a heel now.
They don't They don't
and
make you look stupid as a fan.
Yeah,
by
exactly.
saying
They don't make the wrestler look stupid. They don't make the match just a pointless waste of time. They don't like that. There's so many things that they didn't do in this match that you would see. I'll just say it. I'll blanket statement everywhere else. You would see it everywhere else, and I think that was a big. That to me that was a big. This is why NXT is different, because you have things like that where a referee can say, number one, it's not logical for you to use this. From a kayfabe storyline standpoint, a ref can say, it's not logical that you would be using this. That's obviously something that someone else was wearing that's standing at ringside. So that doesn't add up. And also, I didn't actually see you do anything with it. So what can I even say? What can I call?
Right. I didn't see it. I'm not calling it.
Right.
Just don't use it.
Just don't use it. Throw it down.
Right.
So like that was a major. To me, that was it's such a small thing in the grand scheme of things, but that was a major milestone and a major selling point for this is NXT.
And the way they did the ref bump to the false finish, to the referee waking up, to the second false finish. I mean, it's just great booking, and the crowd got into it because twice over you thought Asuka was going to get screwed, and twice over she overcame it, and just not like you needed that to happen to get the crowd to buzz the way it did, but you got the crowd to buzz, and just a great feeling after the match. And, just phenomenal match.
Yeah, the story was told perfectly. I mean, there's little things here and there. I mean, it's live wrestling. Not everything's going to go absolutely 100% perfect, but you had little tiny things you can nitpick here and there. But just overall, the story was told so well that number one, it was easy for the crowd to get into it. But once again, we'll talk about this crowd plenty during this show and then in our weekly.
I mean, listen, this crowd could be its own show. They were great.
They were just so willing to. Yeah. I guess that's what it is. They were so willing to buy into whatever they were being shown.
Yeah.
Which
we've seen in NXT, top to bottom. We've seen this in NXT though. Their fans are always just into it. Ring of Honor fans are into it. I mean, it's not like it doesn't happen in the United States, and it's not like it's only exclusive in the NXT and WWE can't replicate it. But
true.
They've been consistent with it, and there was no hotter crowd here. Maybe the Brooklyn crowd, just based on the numbers, but there was still 10,000 people here, and and you heard them. So
and I think, and like I said, I think that. The crowd being so willing to buy into things really plays into this next match too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is Enzo and Big Cass versus the tag team champions Dash and Dawson. And I think that if you didn't have this crowd, I'm not entirely sure I would have liked this match as much as I did. And that really is not undermining the wrestler more than the fact that the crowd reactions and participation and level of excitement can really boost your overall willingness to enjoy something. And I think that proved that here, but again, it was a fantastic match, and another false finish, kind of like a little swerve you had at the end where Dash and Dawson looked like they were about to lose, and then you had a last minute kind of shenanigans for them to retain the championship. What did you feel about this match?
Okay, so I love the match.
Right.
I don't know that I love the finish.
See, I think we're opposites on this one. I thought the match was good, and I thought when the heels win in that way, they're being heels.
Well,
so
I get that, and I'm for that. I guess in this specific situation with this specific card, and just with the story leading up to this match, I feel like you needed the payoff for, even if it was just, even if they ended up going down as the going down in the books as the shortest tag team champions in NXT. I really think you needed to pay this off with Enzo and Big Cass winning.
Yeah,
And
I mean, we both
so
predicted them to win.
yeah. So to me, it's and it's not like I'm head over heels in love with Enzo and Big Cass because they tell funny poo poo pee pee jokes on Breaking Ground or whatever. It's not that. It's more the fact that I don't know. It just the story was all pointing that way, and yeah, the heels win every now and then to kind of keep it interesting.
They are
But
transitional feuds, in between title winning and title losing as
that's
well.
true. But they haven't won yet,
No.
and like you said, there hasn't been a 2-time champion yet, and you're getting to the point where NXT is not only where people want to stay, but where people kind of have to stay because they will overshadow the main roster just by showing up. A lot of them, like if Finn Balor shows up tomorrow, no one cares about Roman Reigns.
And it's more detrimental to WWE if they show up and then they treat him as the new guy and put him low on the totem pole. It's more detrimental nowadays for that to happen and the fans getting pissed off than it is to just
especially with some of these guys, how you've built up their pedigree.
I mean, they've had championship runs and everything, and now you're going to throw them in the main roster and be like, okay, you're fighting Mark Henry, who deserves better.
Yeah. Between Balor, Samoa Joe, and Apollo Crews, you've got guys with like decades of experience, and to put them on the main roster and treat them like the young boys is just not going to cut it.
Right. So you have to find the right spot to put them in there. But
anyway, so I say all that to say that was a side note to say I don't think you had to keep the titles on Enzo and Big Cass that long, but I feel like this was the place to do it, especially because of what happened. Sort of a couple of things. The match was a double-edged sword in that everyone knew the literally larger than life Big Cass, and then Enzo's unbelievable personality, and that dude has personality in spades. I mean, he gets over that character where no one, I think very few people would get over that character like he does, and he gets it over so well. And then you've got Dash and Dawson, who, don't get me wrong, they are, the rebirth of Arn and Tully, or they are like the old school heels, but a chant that started happening during this match was, who is Dash, who is Dawson, who is Dash, who is Dawson. Now, to me, it's just like, well, who they are, but at the same time, from a distance, do you? Is there anything that distinguishes them from each other besides one's bald and one's not?
Yeah, but that might have been a copy of like a soccer football kind of chant that they do, because I've noticed that a lot of chants they were doing were like replica
or
Manchester
football,
United, Arsenal chants, and they just insert wrestler name here instead of soccer player.
True enough. But to me, it's just like, you want the heels to be heels, and man, were they heels when they left. People didn't want to see that outcome, so that makes them more heel. It makes people hate them more. But I don't know. I just felt like the payoff here.
Yeah, it just sounds like the fan in you wanted Enzo and Cass to win.
You say that, but it's really not that, because I could revisit this later, and I'm not going to revisit it that much later, but to me in this show, you kind of needed this to happen on the whole show.
Yeah. I mean, on our preview show, I said like Cass and Enzo, my reason for picking them was they needed this, because if they lose, then what? But then again, I'm like, you know what? They're always going to be.
That's not even my point.
They're always going to be crowd. Well, this is my point. They're always going to be crowd favorites, so that even if they take the loss here, Dash and Dawson look stronger as your heel champions and more heel, and people will still love Cass and Enzo. So
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but let me apply Wyatt family logic to that.
Well, that's still. I mean, but listen, people still like the Wyatts, right?
They do, but people are like, "Oh, come on, can they please win?"
They still like the Wyatts, and they're heels, and they're heels. So you're not supposed to like the Wyatts. So
whatever. Anyway, so we'll move on, but I will barely touch base on that when we get to the very end.
Yeah. Okay. So next up on the card was Apollo Crews versus Baron Corbin, and this is the match where we had the same predictions for each match, And this is the match where I said, you know what, Apollo Crews is going to win because he's the more charming and the stronger of the two. He has more charisma. And just
We outthought this
he
one.
could be, not we, I did. He could just be the more legitimate, undefeated monster 6 months down the line vying for the title, because he did win that match against Finn Balor on NXT, a championship match, when Baron Corbin interfered and hit him first. Finn Balor got disqualified. But that wasn't the case. Baron Corbin won with the end of days and even took Apollo Crews' standing moonsault. And there were a couple stiff parts of this match. It was a fun match. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say this was my most anticipated match on the card, but it had its moments, and still it kept me glued to the TV because, as we say about NXT, we really don't know the ending. We don't know where they're going to go or what the outcome is going to be. But what did you feel about this match?
I liked it. I thought it was cool, and I actually thought it was cool for Corbin to get the win. And to me, the whole outthinking of this, even for me, was, well, you know, Crews, yeah, he's a veteran and so on and so forth. Yeah, but Corbin's been there for 4 years. He's an NXT veteran at this point. And at some point, that and that still means something in the wrestling business, just like it means something at your job, you know. The hotshot salesman who comes in from the outside, yeah, he gets all kinds of opportunities. He gets
Ty Dillinger begs to differ.
Okay, fair enough. But he hasn't been main status, you know. So, you know, he hasn't been headliner status yet. So, it's as far as headliners are concerned, you know, Crews is that hotshot sales guy who comes in from some other company with, you know, a bunch of customers in his back pocket, and so he gets all kinds of opportunities that you're not getting. But then when the boss comes down to, all right, I got this new customer, this other guy's really busy, I know you're really busy too, but you've been here longer, I really think you could handle it, here you go. To me, that was sort of the business dealing of this match.
Right.
That out of the way, it was a good match. It was a good match. It told their story really well, and they told the story after the match really well, with Crews like, how did I lose this match? You know, it's like, you know, him on the ground, like, how did I lose this match? I mean, his face was even sort of like the way the lighting came across, right, which wasn't intentional, but, you know, his face is sort of like half shrouded at the end. And it's just like, what am I doing with my life? You know?
The good part about this is the way Crews has been presenting himself on TV with these backstage interviews and even on Breaking Ground. It's just like, well, he lost. Now he's going to dig deeper to, like, overcome the loss, and that makes sense.
Well, I mean, he's named Apollo Crews. It's an obvious nod to Rocky, and his music sounds like the Rocky theme to an extent. So, I think that's a very significant part of his actual character. You know, not necessarily the wrestler, but the character. I think that's a significant part of his character that they'll play out from time to time.
Yeah, and
this will be the first time you see it.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's one of those matches where, hey, listen, we wanted to see what direction they're going into, and now it's kind of like, well, now we want to see what direction they go to. You know, they go from here, and that kind of brings us to our next match in a way, with Nia Jax versus Bayley for Bayley's NXT Women's Championship. Is that I've never. I mean, except for the fact of like 4-second matches and stuff like that, I'm not too sure I've ever seen anyone win using only 2 moves in the entire match. And I said 1 move on Twitter, but then the 2 moves are, she was giving elbows off the second rope for a decent period of time, and then
then you're gonna have to say 3 too. There's 3 then.
Well, I'm sure there's more than 3 if we go through the match, but I'm just saying, you know, if we look at the overall picture and we remove kind of all the little arm bars and stuff like that, she had an attack from the second rope, and then she had the guillotine choke, which she won. But I think going back before when I was talking about the tag team championships, I think this is one of the situations where, like, here's a feud to transition and make the title reign longer, where like she's not going to wrestle Nia Jax 2, 3, 4 months in a row with Nia Jax eventually winning. But I think this is a match where it's just like, okay, we're going to throw Nia Jax at Bayley now because Nia Jax is a stronger, bigger woman, and Bayley overcoming that makes her more legit title holder. And that's definitely the case because she took at least 3, maybe 4 Nia Jax legs drops, 2 or 3 Samoa drops. I mean, Bayley got beat up in this match, and then won in a non-traditional fashion with the guillotine choke. Very well done. Very, very welcome change of pace from like a normal Bayley match, and it still had you captivated. Maybe the crowd was a reason behind it. How does this match do in a traditional arena? I don't know, but Bayley winning probably still holds pretty well, no matter what the match is like prior to that. But what were your thoughts about this match?
Everything about this match was done well.
Yeah.
And yes, the crowd totally enhanced it. So what I was going to say, I was sort of messing with you about it being 3 moves because there's the rear naked choke and then there's the guillotine choke. But it's just you're on one side of the person's body versus the other. It's the same hold.
Is it a throw or is it a suplex? Can we get that right?
Yeah, exactly. Is it a what is it? Is it a belly to back suplex or a backdrop?
Yeah.
But depends on what country you're in. But anyway, yeah, it was so well done on from both wrestlers. It was so well done from the commentary desk. And let me just say this. I've been meaning to say this for a while now. Anytime we talk about NXT, Corey Graves is the best announcer in WWE.
He was pretty good on that night.
Period.
He was pretty good that night. He really was.
Well, his character's just solid. He's not like he's the guy. He's a heel announcer, but he recognizes effort no matter where it comes from.
He's a 2015 heel announcer where he's not 100% bad guy.
Yeah, he's not. Well, he's a reasonable heel.
Yeah.
You know, he's that guy that, you know, he'll shake your hand after a match, but then, you know, when you walk away, he'll kick you in the back of the head. You know, he's a CM Punk style heel.
Right.
You know, CM Punk was basically always a heel, but, you know, was booked himself as a babyface. So he's very similar to CM Punk's character, only in a commentary role. And good grief, he just the way he calls a match like this was awesome. I mean, just the fact that it's his commentary is Bayley can't win this. Bayley can't win this. Bayley's tough, but Bayley can't win this. Bayley can't win this. You know, I said Bayley can't win this, and she made a liar out of me. Good show. You know,
Yeah,
you know,
good.
it's just like, but that's how he's been for a while now, and it's refreshing to hear him not be a goober like Byron comes across a lot of times.
Byron gets lost in the background to me. Like, whenever he says something, it's like I hear him. I could probably like recite what he says, but almost instantly I'm like, just like, what did he say? I don't even remember.
Did that matter? But I'm not hating on the guy.
Listen.
He has a great voice.
I think he actually sounds his tone sounds a little bit like Corey Graves. They have 2 distinct voices, yes.
Right.
But it's weird how it's like sometimes I'm just like, I don't know.
Who said that?
Yeah, was that Corey or was that Byron Saxton? Like, why is he arguing with himself? Like, I don't understand what's going on back and forth. Like when they mess with Rich sometimes and they're both talking, I'm just like, well, did that come from Corey? Did that come from Byron? And I think that also happens in on the main roster too. Byron just gets kind of lost in the background, but like you said, Graves was phenomenal.
We can talk about that in the show sometime.
Yeah,
that they bury Saxton really bad.
And anytime he says something, roster. Even Cole will make a cheap shot at him.
Well, even Lawler.
Yeah.
What are you saying? You know, it's just like, okay, that's helpful. Anyway, so back to the match. Nia Jax versus Bayley. So I'm going to talk about Nia Jax real quick. So yes, she's this monster, but man, like the repeated moves. When do you see people do that? Like the what would that be called? The rope. What is that? Rebound. What would you call that? Somebody coming off the ropes. I mean, it's off the rope. I guess off the rope.
Off the rope.
Yeah. So, so an off the rope leg drop, and then she's just like, you know what, this chick keeps kicking out. I'm gonna do it again, and she did it again. You know what? I'm gonna do it one more time just in case.
Yeah. Bailey rolls over, and you think here comes the pin. She's like, nope.
Yeah.
Roll her back, and he did it again. Yeah.
And it was just like, she's not just a monster. She is a relentless aggressor.
Yeah. And on that third one, I'm like, oh my God, did they just Brock Lesnar Bailey?
Yeah.
Did they just Brock Lesnar Cena Bailey?
Yeah.
For a second there, I'm like, oh my God, she could lose. you know?
Yeah. Well, and the whole match, you're like, I mean, she keeps doing these strong moves, but not just doing them once. Like she keeps redoing them, and it just sold her role so well of just this relentless aggression. You know, like Brock in his matches. You know, when he gets on offense, he stays on offense unless
eat,
something
sleep,
hairy
leg drop,
happens.
repeat.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I mean, and like speaking of Brock, in almost like an MMA sort of fashion, the way that Bailey pulled this out was just like submission out of nowhere kind of thing.
And find the hole, exploit the hole.
Yeah.
And she just kept doing it. And it was, and the announcers, once again, they pulled that off too, where it's just like, you know what? It's, you know, that's the smart move.
Yeah.
Like,
and
what
she
else
had
is
the whole...
she going to do? She's not going to take her down with power, but everybody needs air. And if she, you know, they even said something to that effect at one point. Everyone needs to breathe. If you can't breathe, it doesn't matter how much power you have. I think it was Graves who pulled that off.
Yeah, and then she had to hold on for so long that you're just kind of like not expecting the tap out when it happened. And when it happened, it was just like, holy crap.
Holy crap,
she did it. Instead of like, you know, like, here's the figure four, here's the tap out. Okay. You know, it was kind of like an out of nowhere, and it's the first time she ever used this move. So I hope it's not like a milked kind of like, now I'm going to make everyone submit in this way. I really hope it's like a one-time, like, this is the move I used to slay the giant, and then like it's out of her repertoire or whatever.
To me, I think, I guess we'll talk speculation. What comes out of this?
Yeah,
once we get through the main event. But,
so let's move on to the main event.
Unbelievable match, and let's move on to the main event.
All right, so we had Samoa Joe versus the champion Finn Balor, and it was everything I expected it to be. To be honest, it was pretty stiff. I mean, it was pretty rough in the beginning with Joe's strikes and everything, and
I think very intentionally stiff.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I can see I don't know the guys from anything, but I can kind of see a conversation between the two that's just like, let's give them their money's worth kind of thing.
Or let's do this like New Japan.
Yeah. I'll pretend you're a Rene Dupree and you crashed my rental car kind of deal. So something like that. But it pretty much went the way I expected to go. It was very entertaining. Finn won. Now, the one thing I haven't noticed about this, after the match, Finn was really selling like an I'm hurt kind of thing. But it was sold in such a way that I don't even know if it was selling or if it was like, it blurred the line for me between like it happening to stall for time because something else was going to happen. Was he really hurt? Are they selling the fact that Joe like took everything out of him? That confused me a little bit at the end. It kind of made it awkward just because of my mindset towards it. I hate the fact that they have a champion like Finn Balor, and it's seemingly like in every feud he's been in so far, he's been like nursing an injury within the matches, holding a knee, whatever. I hate when they don't make the champion look strong and on his own merits, but they got to include like a fake injury to kind of get him over. And I really hope, like, I don't hope the guy's hurt, but I hope that that's not foreshadowing on something that's going to happen down the line where, like, okay, we saw him hurt, and now, like, he's going to play that angle, like, for weeks to come about being hurt. What did you think about that closing, the way that pay-per-view ended?
I'm going to take it a different... I'm going to take it slightly different route. To me, it didn't just blur the lines. Could you even hear me just then? Sorry. I'm going to back up. And we can...
It's a live show, buddy.
I know. Thanks, Gene. Anywho, hang on, I'm going to do that again. No, but it wasn't so much blurred the line is like it, to me, I felt like it was totally out of kayfabe because it wasn't just he's nursing something. I mean, he was trying to shake everything. Like he was just standing up on his own and everything like that. And you had a trainer / doctor or something who stayed in the ring talking to him. I almost think that maybe there was something going on, or they saw something that made them think, oh crap, that something happened. Like I feel like
that too. The way everything
I feel
happened.
like that's what actually happened. And you did see that Joe's mouth was all like he was bleeding from the mouth pretty bad.
And if there was any injury or like fallout from this as far as like medical stuff, we will cover that on the weekly. So but we're going into this pretty much right after the event itself. And I noticed the thing with the trainer too, and he kind of was celebrating. Then it was kind of like, you know what, I gotta sit down. And then he kind of up again. And at one time he just pushes the title to somebody, and it's just dude, I'm done. Like
Yeah. Well, and Joe, he was like, his bell was obviously wrong. I mean, he's bleeding from the mouth. That means he got hit in the mouth, right? So it's his bell was obviously wrong to a point where he wasn't selling either. Like I think I saw something where the coup de grace at the end actually caught him in the head a little bit, which a foot to the head, no matter how fast it is. Trust me, I have a 3-year-old. A foot to the head, no matter how fast it is, it always hurts.
Why are you kicking her in the head?
No, other way around. Get it right.
All right.
So anyway, it always hurts just because you don't, when you get hit in the head, it's a problem. So anyway, but unbelievable match. The crowd treated this match with so much respect and so much awe. It was awesome. Like saw someone say they treated it like it was a New Japan match where they waited for the spots and then they would applaud and cheer.
Yeah.
They weren't rowdy and everything like this with this match.
Right.
This match this is a spectacle. This is a real fight, and we're going to treat it like a real fight. And you know what? The guys, I mean, they told the story like it was a real fight. I mean, it was brutal.
No, it was great. It was a great night, a great event. We'll do this one first before we go, and forecast for the future and stuff. Where do you think Finn Balor's going from here?
I mean, the obvious next step out of this pay-per-view
Disney World?
is he and Corbin.
Okay.
Yeah, Corbin's just like Disney World.
I think Corbin was tweeting about Disney World actually a couple weeks ago.
Oh, fantastic!
I'm not too sure about that. We will, I can look that up.
Yeah.
Catch the weekly show for that update.
Yeah, stay tuned for details.
I think I saw a picture of him with Mickey Mouse ears.
Stop it!
Okay.
So, you asked me a question.
I did.
Finn Balor and Corbin is, I would assume, the next thing on the card.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because that was very. There was a lot of finality to that. I mean, yes, it's been a pretty, it's been a fast burn on that story with he and Joe, but of course I say that, and then as Corey Graves was talking about it in the little like the sort of the what's the word I'm looking for? He sort of did like a preview show that was just him talking about the matches and them showing which they've done before. But
right, like this is NXT kind of special.
Yeah, one of those types of things where they show a lot of the match and then he talks over some stuff and everything like that. But he talked about how 2 months ago and a month ago and so on and so forth. And I'm like, I guess because it's an hour show and you only see a little bit of it every week, you don't realize that the story has been going on for months.
Right.
Like it I guess because.
And there's no pay-per-views in between, too. So, you're seeing one main event and not 3 within those months.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't see the match 14 times before.
In any sort of combination. You see maybe twice, once.
Exactly.
Maybe.
And so it's like, so you don't realize that, we talk about how fast these stories develop. Well, really over the course of just time in general on a calendar, they actually do long play these stories for what the product is at the moment. So it's I feel like this was definitely I don't feel like this is a bookmark. I feel like this is a final chapter of this particular story.
Oh yeah, I don't know if any
I feel
feuds,
like Finn moves on to Corbin.
I would have to check this, and I would have to actually probably do research for the first time ever. But I don't feel like any NXT Takeover match, except for Sasha and Bayley, that I can think of, has really spanned 2 consecutive takeovers.
Right.
I think everything's been original, mixed up, and like different feuds and stuff. And that's probably the reason why we like it so much, as we talked about in the preview show, is that everything's fresh. Every time you're watching it, something's fresh.
Yeah. And where I don't think Cruz and Corbin is quite done yet, I feel like you'll have someone in the mix for Cruz after this.
Yeah.
And Corbin will be going after
Right.
Balor. So,
I mean, they'll do something else before they go back to Corbin and Cruz.
and
listen,
there's still that
one of them might have the title the
go
next
ahead.
time they do it.
Yeah.
Who
that's
knows when Finn's
True.
time for the main roster is in fact up. Whether he wants to go there or not, I'm not too sure how much say he has in it. But, or how much it's fan speculation just saying like, oh, he wants to stay here because he doesn't want to go to main roster. But, I don't know how much fact there is. But who's to take the title from Finn? Maybe our second 2-time or first ever 2-time champ might be Sami Zayn. And
right.
it might lead up to Finn versus Zayn, where Corbin's the transition between the feuds. But I don't know. It's interesting, and it's the reason why we like
I forgot
NXT.
about Zayn coming back.
Yeah, it's the reason why we like NXT to begin with. And real quick, others like feuds and where to go from here. Nia Jax definitely gave the stare down to Asuka during an interview.
That was cool.
That was very cool. Like, what are you doing here? And you kind of expected it maybe to be Bayley. And then, or maybe even like, one of Bayley's friends, Sasha, or, any of the horsewomen.
Carmella.
Yeah, or Carmella. Yeah, sure. And I said that really New Yorkie, didn't I? Carmella.
Yeah.
But I listened to myself back on the last broadcast.
You didn't say Carmella.
Yeah, I said Carmella.
That's the big, yeah.
But I listened to myself back on the last broadcast. It's the first time I think I've ever listened to myself, recorded.
You sound good.
And I sound awesome, but I hear an accent, and I'm just like, oh God, do I really talk like that? But
I really am from Long Island.
But nevertheless, Nia Jax snapped during the interview and said, "What are you looking at?" And walked over and stared down Asuka. Asuka gave a little bit of a smile, left. Nia Jax walked back to the interview. I mean, that was a very cool promo.
It was a cool promo, and it was cool, and like they played their characters really well, but Asuka sometimes with her little smile thing, she comes across as like, it's like she's doing the innocent Asian girl type thing, like where she's just like,
yeah, I see her. I see her as just being creepy.
But she's like, well, but yeah, it's that. It's like she's like, but she's like, I'm a violent murderer, and it's just like,
she laughs.
It's this funny juxtaposition of. What her character is and what her facial expression is saying.
I hate social media feuds and
right.
banter and stuff like that. But one of the funnier ones I actually happened to catch this year was Asuka like sending tweets in like broken English, and like Dana Brooke correcting her.
Oh, that's great.
It was hysterical, and like every time I see Asuka
they were probably
tweet now,
sitting by each other.
every time I seen Asuka tweet now, I'm just like, oh my God, her broken English is so good. Like, it's almost, like, intentionally good. I thought she was from Seattle, by the way, and not, like, pure Japanese. I have to do research on this one, too. I thought she lived and worked in Seattle.
You've got a lot of research to do.
I really do, because I like to say things and then just, like, prove them as fact after the fact I say them.
Yeah.
Listen, there's so much knowledge in my head that, like, I just forget what's made up and what's real. And what could be real, and what I may have heard, and stuff like that. But but the Nia Jax Asuka stuff could be good too. I think Jason and Jordan are next in line for the tag team championship. Forget about Chad Gable.
Jordan and Gable.
No, Jason and Jordan.
Jason and Jordan.
Jason and Jordan. They're next in line for the tag team championships.
Yeah.
Chad Gable can hold one of them, I guess. But I mean, listen, the Vaudevillains had their time. Blake and Murphy had their time. It's not going to be the Hype Bros, maybe, and the Vaudevillains seem to be going a little bit heel, so maybe they work with somebody else before, like, one of those, whoever wins that feud comes back for the titles. But I don't know. The crowd was hot for them in Europe.
Yeah,
and maybe
we'll see what,
they're taking notice based on that.
We'll see what happens with this week's show based on some things I've read.
Yeah, I didn't read them.
I actually have read some spoilers for next week. But
all right, no spoilers.
I'm not going to talk about them. But based on things I've read, you never know. They might take some people in different directions based on what happens on that show.
Yeah,
you know, and just see if Full Sail will actually follow along with it. You know,
Full Sail. I'm going to be so disappointed. Actually, the next tapings I don't think are in Full Sail. I think they're in a different Orlando venue. Then it goes back to Full Sail at the end of January for maybe February shows. But man, I'm really dreading the whole hipster kind of, we've got to one-up London, England, so we're just going to chant whatever we want to chant kind of deal. London did it so well that you didn't think it was them getting over. It was them supporting. And that's like how it has to be.
They were buying in.
Yeah, they were buying in, and it's just that. But hey, listen, are there any is there any downside to this pay-per-view for you before we wrap this up?
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, so here's my bookmark. Let's go back to Enzo and Big Cass. So them not winning, it in and of itself, I don't care because I like Dash and Dawson as heels. The problem with it was, for as hot as everyone was throughout the night, the crowd, I mean, for Cruz and Corbin, a match that told the story really well. And I didn't say this when we were going or when we were talking about that match, but for a match that told their story really well and the guys did really well, the crowd was kind of cold. Yeah. Not like Raw cold or SmackDown, you know, people
cold
are picking
compared
their
to
nose,
the other matches.
You know, yeah, very cold compared to the rest of the night. And I think a lot of that was because Enzo and Cass didn't win. That's my thing. It was an overall show thing for me that they didn't win, and I think it took the wind out of the sails of Cruz and Corbin a little bit, or the match, or took the wind out of the sails of the crowd for the Cruz and Corbin match, and they should have. And I feel like they probably would have been a little more invested if they had just gotten the big Enzo and Cass win from that, and they would have been freaking out, and they would have been totally on board with Cruz. And then that would have put more heat on Corbin.
I think that
when he won.
Yeah.
So
I think when you talk about Cruz and Corbin, I think that guys are just like nothing against them. They're good, technical, solid wrestlers. I just think they're like unchantable, you know, kind of deal. I just don't think that any crowd could get like really into and sustain a level of enthusiasm, whether it's, you know, cheering or booing either of those guys for some reason. It's part of the reason why like they're not my personal favorites. I don't mind seeing them wrestle, and probably why I didn't really anticipate this match as being one of my favorites too much. I don't know. It's just the style of wrestling they have. They just don't have highs or lows to sustain like decent moves.
Yeah, I think it's Corbin doesn't really have highs besides the end of days. And then Cruz doesn't really have lows. Like everything he does just looks so good and silky smooth. Like he's not.
But he's got nothing that's over the top. He doesn't have a Cesaro swing that people are going to go crazy for when Cesaro starts
something
swinging.
That you can.
You know,
well, everything's so quick. Just everything's so quick. Yeah.
But that's that. And anything else? Downside?
I mean, that was really the only. Like I said, it was just sort of the combined thing. And one more thing back on that bookmark. No titles changed hands, and that's fine because NXT tells their stories properly. But to me, that's where on the night, if you had that one title change hands and it went to people who are really over with the crowd, I think that pushes it to just that next level. But
it doesn't need title. That doesn't need title change. Like NXT doesn't need the title change. WWE needed the title change, and stay tuned to our weekly show to find out what that title change was. For me, I think the downsides to this were that like they showed like a legendary UK wrestler, but I think they missed an opportunity to show other wrestlers in the UK. Guys that are on the radar, maybe they never make it. Maybe Paige's mom.
Yeah.
Do we want to introduce Paige's mom to the WWE universe, even if it's just for 10 seconds on TV, just to set up something down the line if and when it ever happens?
Well, and that's one place where you did get some crowd snark, because I'm not sure if you noticed, but the guys behind him were saying, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah, I noticed that guy
Right?
going,
And
"Who?"
they were like,
Yeah, and they're like, legendary wrestler. Hey, listen, I know Regal had to leave early, the trip early because of complications from his surgery. I don't know if Brookside was over there, but there are other WWE guys that could have been on the camera. I mean, listen, you could have even put guys that were on the trip in front of the camera, whether it's Blake and Murphy, Alexa, just to cut to them and be like, hey, look, who's here, I thought that was a downside, wasted opportunity to set something up down the line maybe, but overall, like, first world problems,
Yeah.
No Zayn on the pay-per-view for me was pretty bad, and I know they taped TV afterwards, so, no spoilers or anything. I don't really even know him myself, but I know he was kept off the pay-per-view. I think that a Zayn confrontation or an appearance in the pay-per-view, I mean, listen, it's not something that was needed, obviously, because we still pretty much enjoyed this match, but again, Sami Zayn returns next week. I mean, kind of doesn't do it for me as Sami Zayn's music hitting and him going to the ring, or his music hitting and you see him in the crowd sitting down watching the show, showing his ticket to the camera, something like that. But
yeah, I think part of that, I mean, it could have even been Zayn a little bit with, hey, just let the guys have their time.
Listen, that's
he
why
didn't want to overshadow it and stuff like that.
Sure, so. But you definitely did have things between the matches. I mean, sometimes I just don't like to see a setup for the match for like the third time in the night. When you see it pre-show and then you see it like in the beginning of the pay-per-view, then you see it before the match. I mean, listen, I already bought the pay-per-view. I know what matches there are. You don't need to recap the match,
and
leading up to the match.
That's completely fair. I will say another big point of this match, because it was 5 matches in a 2-hour show. Everybody got time.
Oh yeah, and that was perfect,
brilliant.
Yeah, and it was even scheduled for 2.5 hours, just in case things went long.
Right.
There was just such a long, period of time for this that it's just like, do your thing, tell your story, wrap it up, and then there's no okay, we gotta save 7 minutes here. Nope. If it doesn't go to 2:30, guess what? We'll just fill the time with an episode of Swerve or whatever they did.
Yeah.
So that's
that. It was really good. It was really good.
But overall,
if you gave it a grade, what would you give it?
I would give it, if I gave it a grade, I'd probably give it a B-. I mean, it was good. You know what? B+, because the crowd was tremendous. It didn't have the title change. It didn't have this. My A+ level of expectation is title changes, shocking stuff, people debuting or re-debuting,
some random person
stuff like that. Listen, if Nia Jax won, it might have bumped it up a grade just based on shock value alone, like anything can happen kind of deal. But it was still a tremendous pay-per-view, much better than TLC, and I gave that a C. So to give this a B- is unfair, so I will bump it up to 2 steps to a B+.
Yeah, I would say B+.
Yeah.
To me, it's a solid A to possibly even an A+ if Enzo and Big Cass win. And again, it's not about them; it's about on the overall show. Because then you do have a title change, and then maybe Cruz and Corbin, the crowd isn't quite as emotionally drained.
You know what that match needed, honestly?
What's that?
This is my honest opinion. That match needed Steve Blackman to run out with a pair of nunchucks.
Absolutely.
And just beat them both up.
Steve Blackman must make an appearance.
Well, with the Steve Blackman reference. Well, I know I botched that. Can we edit that in? Let's record something after
we
this.
Totally
and edit
can.
In there.
We
okay.
Totally can.
So with that said, this was the NXT Takeover London, not preview and prediction show, but the post game show. I know I'm using the same label. Yeah, I use the same label as before, but still, it's to complete the preview.
Just ignore that
predictions. Yeah, don't ignore that. But what you want to look at is you want to look at the stuff on the bottom of the screen. That's how you can reach the Duke and myself on Twitter. And you can watch us play some games on Twitch. Look out in 2016 for some compilation gaming between the Duke and I, where we test our skills, and I probably shoot his food in Gauntlet just to be a troll. But with that, I am Angry Larry, and you are?
I'm the Duke.
And what do you say?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is for you.
You say stuff else, too.
Oh, I say bye.
Bye.